Hello, my fellow creatives. Welcome, welcome. I am Imani the writer, and this is the Healing Creative Podcast, where I, a Black girl creative, take you along my healing journey. Feel free to join me. So today's topic is, what does marriage really mean for Black women? I've been thinking a lot about dating and marriage lately. Touched on the topic on a few podcast episodes, and I actually wrote the outline for this podcast episode like a week or so ago, but I just wasn't really in the mood to talk about it right then and there. Like, I had the idea and I wrote down the idea and I wrote down my notes for things I wanted to touch on in the episode. But this morning, and I really wasn't even supposed to do anything for the podcast, I said to myself, no, we're not doing anything for the podcast today. Today is your creative day. It's your day to live, laugh, love. It's your day to write. It's your day to play guitar. It's your day to sing. It's your day to paint if you feel like painting, and it is your day to play My Sims Agents on your Wii and to be nostalgic and just feed your inner child, right? Which I still very much plan on doing today. But this morning, I was on YouTube and I saw, those like compilation videos that YouTubers put together of TikToks on like the same topic. That's what I saw a video like that today. And the video was essentially why women are leaving their marriages. When I see a topic like that, I usually kind of click not interest because, my gosh, I like that kind of content is just not, it's so negative all the time. And I'm just not always in the mood for that. And if I watch it once, if I watch one video, all of a sudden it floods my feed with similar negative content about how these men are evil and they're not treating us right and they're trying to kill us. And I'm just like, I think, and I'm like, honestly, sometimes that's true. Sometimes they are trying to kill us. Sometimes that is true. But I'm just not always in the mood to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be in such a negative headspace when it comes to dating. So I don't go out of my way to watch dating related content. And if I ever just out of curiosity watch one video, all of a sudden that's all that YouTube is going to recommend me. And I have to go in and click on everything and be like, not interested, not interested, not interested, not interested. I don't know what it is, but like, it's so annoying. But the reason why I clicked on it and decided to watch it against my better judgment is because it reminded me of this podcast that I was thinking about creating and that I wrote the outline for it. So I decided to watch it. I'm not going to link it because it was nothing particularly special, but it was just interesting hearing different women's stories and their perspectives on why they're leaving their husbands. Luckily, it wasn't because of an abusive situation for any of these women, luckily. But they were just unfulfilled. They were just unhappy. They felt that their husbands were not tending to their needs at all, that marriage was just, it was just like them doing all of the work to keep this home together, to keep this family together. But their emotional needs were just disregarded. A common theme was they just kind of felt like marriage for them was a full-time job, whereas for their husbands, it's just like, I'm just a husband. I don't actually have to do anything. That doesn't actually mean anything in terms of what I do every day. That's not a role for me to play. That's just what I am. I just go about my life the same way I would when I was single. Like, I go to work, I come home, I watch TV, I drink beer. They just, men that just don't do anything. Like, they don't see being a husband as any sort of role to play. They don't see tasks they need to do that's related to it. But being a wife is a role, and you have to play that role. And it's work. It feels like work. It's a job. And these women were just tired of putting in what it seems like all the work and all the heavy lifting to keep this home and to keep this marriage together, to get these children in order and get them going to school and curating their lives. They were just tired of doing all the work, while their husband gets to just basically be single, essentially, because it's just like they're just living their lives just the exact same way that they were living them when they were single and child-free. They're not doing anything. So that got me like inspired to actually like to look at this outline that I wrote again and revisit this, what marriage really means for Black women, and specifically what marriage means for me. And I just happen to be a Black woman. I don't know how much of this podcast is going to be relevant to all Black women who hear it, but I definitely will be touching on some topics related to the church, Christianity, and other things related to the way marriage was taught to a lot of us as Black women, right? So I also just wanted to kind of take this opportunity to look internally, because I know why I deeply want to meet my person, fall in love, cultivate a happy, healthy, safe, and loving relationship for the both of us. I want us both to do that work together. And I eventually want to elevate that into a marriage when it is time to. I want to be a mother when it is my time to. I want him to be a father, and I want him to relish in that and to be excited about playing the role as husband and father. I want to do all that with somebody. And I know why. I know what my why is. I know that I deeply value connection, how much I deeply value emotional, physical, and spiritual and intellectual intimacy. And I want to cultivate that with another person. I had a previous relationship before where I felt that we were able to do a lot of those things, but not very often. And there was a point where it just kind of started to fall off. And I was younger. He was younger. But now I especially want to give this a try now that I'm older, and now that I've having read more books on marriage and by reputable sources, people who actually work in counseling for couples and everything like that, and can bring their work experience into their books and everything like that. And I can actually benefit from them. I don't take any advice from any old person on the internet. Child, I can't do that no more. Those days are behind me. You know what I'm saying? But like, after reading those books, I'm excited to meet a person that I can do those exercises with. I'm excited to meet somebody that I can read those books with as well and try the different things that they recommend from the offset, from the very beginning. Like, I don't want to wait until we have problems for us to try to backtrack and solve them. I want the foundation of our connection to be something healthy and grounded and based on principles and practices that experts in the field have seen work. I want to see what that's like. I want to know what that's like to actually put them into practice and see what the result will be like, kind of like an experiment. But yeah, I deeply value a lot of the things that align with marriage. So that's what I deeply want. And I deeply want commitment. I know why I want marriage. Yeah. But I had some interesting questions to ask myself, right? 3 questions. The first one, how much of my desire for marriage is organic versus how much of my desire for marriage was instilled upon me on purpose, right? So I know what my why is, and my why is very genuine to me specifically. But at the same time, I had to sit down and question, like, how much of that is organic and coming from me? It is genuine to me and who I am as a person now, but where did that desire come from? How much of that came from within and how much was instilled upon me from the outside world? And I wanted to take an opportunity to think about that some more. Another question I want to ask is, what does marriage truly mean to me versus what does marriage mean for me? Those are 2 different things. Like, what does it mean to me means, what do I think about marriage? How do I think about it? What does it mean to me? How do I define the term? How do I define what that looks like in day-to-day practice and why I define it in those terms? But what does marriage mean for me is more so thinking of like, okay, this is what I think about it, but what will this actually mean for my well-being? What does marriage truly mean for my welfare, for my future, for who I am as an individual, for my individuality, for my personality, all those things. So I wanted to talk about that too. What does marriage mean to me versus what does it mean for me? And also, I have a friend who's not Black, but I had a friend mention to me that she really doesn't think people care about marriage these days. Comment down below if you think that's valid to you, especially if you're not a Black person. I'm very curious to see what people who aren't from the Black community think about marriage, if it's still something that is heavily valued in our society. I think that that's mainly just her speaking from her particular group of friends, honestly. But I will definitely say in the Black community, I don't think that's true at all. I really don't think it's true at all. Even for people who are having children with people that they're not married to, right? Even they recognize how much marriage as an institution has a chokehold on the Black community. Because people go out of their way to judge them for their decisions and judge them for their mistakes, judge them for their choices that aren't mistakes, things that they did on purpose. You know what I'm saying? So even the Black people who don't necessarily value marriage in their own lives, or maybe they did, but they just didn't go about it in a particular way, they still recognize that for Black people, marriage means something, at least for the collective. It has a very big meaning. And also not getting married for Black women means something. People take that and just run with it to mean all sorts of things about that woman's character. You know what I mean? So I wanted to talk a little bit about that from a Black woman's point of view. And I'm very curious if anybody out there who is, one, if you're Black, I would love to hear your voice as well. But also if you're not Black, do you have a different experience in your culture? I would love to know. Do you kind of see marriage taking on a different role in your culture? What does it mean for your culture? Does it mean anything at all? You know what I'm saying? Or are people just not thinking about it or crazy about it these days anymore? Comment down below. I would love to know. I'd love to know because there's no one way to live, right? And I'm just so fascinated by other walks of life. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your opinions about what marriage means for your community. But let's get into it. But before we do get too deep into it, let's talk about our creative updates. So last night I started writing again, and I started just messing around writing a short story, and it's like a little mermaid short story type situation. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It wasn't necessarily something that I was thinking too much about in terms of a larger project, but I just got out the notebook and was about to sleep. And for whatever reason, I was just like writing in the traditional sense, like just getting out my laptop and just typing out this idea. I don't see that working for me tonight. That's what I said to myself last night. So let's just be in bed. Let's close our eyes. Let's listen to some atmospheric music that just reminds me of like an underwater city with mermaids and stuff like that. Let's listen to music so that just sets the tone. Let me just close my eyes and just imagine what it must be like to live in that world. Kind of make a movie in my mind and just keep the notebook nearby so that I can jot down some notes for anything interesting that pops up in my mind. And I thought that was such a brilliant way to kick off this particular short story. I might even implement that for the next couple of nights. Just have a mood or have a vibe or have an aesthetic that I kind of want to dive into in my dreams or just in my imagination, put on some music that fits the vibe, have the notebook nearby and just close my eyes and just be in my imagination. And anything that pops up, just jot it down. So that was great. I might try that again tonight. But what about you guys? Tell me your creative updates. What have you been working on? Tell me what's been going on in your guys' creative endeavors. Comment them down below. Okay, let's get into it. My first question is, what does marriage mean to the Black community? If you're Black, I'd love for you to share your thoughts. Just take a moment to just type that down for me. I want to know your thoughts. What does marriage mean to the Black community? Here are some of my thoughts. The first bullet that I wrote down is that marriage is a status symbol. Why did I write that down? I oftentimes feel, and I wonder if anyone can relate, that marriage, especially when a Black woman is married, a lot of times people kind of make assumptions about her character. And then people make a lot of assumptions about her character when she's not married. Obviously, marriage is just the elevated one, the elevated status. Like, you did it. You know what I'm saying? You have accomplished something, even though we have to get into that. I'm going to talk about that later. Marriage is not an accomplishment. Why do we treat it like it's an accomplishment? My God, it's not like getting a job or getting a degree, something you actually had to work towards. Being married just means you met someone that you can do that with. And that's not to say that it's not work, but we celebrate marriage more than we celebrate our actual accomplishments that we busted our asses for. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that kind of wild? Isn't that kind of crazy? There's not a bigger party than a wedding. You know what I'm saying? There's no bigger party than a wedding. Not even baby showers are bigger than the wedding. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, let's get back into it. When a Black woman is unmarried and with children, people just treat her like she let the whole community down. They treat her like she's just another stereotype. They treat her like she's just less valuable. I've even heard people use the term throwaway, like they're throwaway women. You know what I mean? And that's just so harsh and so terrible. But when a Black woman is single and child-free, I feel like there are a lot of assumptions about her just not being desirable. Oh, you are single and child-free because nobody wants you. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And I know that it's true because that's how people talk to Black women all the time. So if you are single and you don't have children and you're unmarried, it's because nobody wants you. And nobody wants you because there's something wrong with you, because you're not desirable, because you're not beautiful, because you're too much of one thing or too little of another thing, not enough of another thing. And the problem is you. Right? Let's say that a Black woman is in a relationship, but not married yet and child-free. People, I feel like, are willing to give her a little bit more of a break, but even still, they're like, when are you going to get married? You know what I'm saying? Like, when are you going to get married? Why is he not committing to you? Right? It's that kind of vibe a lot. And when a Black woman is in a relationship and unmarried and she had a child within that relationship, it's like they're just on the cusp of treating her like a single mom. They're like, oh, what is wrong with you? They look down on her. I remember when Halle Bailey had her baby and she was still with DDG, and the way people were dragging her through filth because, again, even though they had not even broken up yet, they were still in their relationship. They treated her as if she was a single mom at that point, even though she technically wasn't a single mom yet. She was just an unwed mother. You know what I mean? And they just treated her so badly. They said that she should have gotten an abortion, which is crazy work. Imagine somebody telling you that you need to get an abortion. Strangers who don't know you on the internet. That's crazy work, bro. That's nuts. That is wild. And again, it's just like, why isn't he marrying her? Why aren't you guys getting married? So it's like a combination of like the Black woman that's in the relationship and the single mom. Like, it's just like, again, what's wrong with you? You're leaning into the stereotype now. And the only way you can get out of that is if you were to get married. And now you have to rush to get married, which is terrible because what ends up happening is, how do we treat Black women who divorce their husbands, who were married and then divorced their husbands? Oftentimes we treat her like she's a failure, which is so cruel and untrue. Oftentimes the divorce is the good thing. The divorce itself is the victory. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the marriage is just that bad, and a divorce is deeply, deeply, deeply needed before a level of equilibrium and stability is attained for that Black woman and for her children, if there are children in the mix. You know what I'm saying? But the Black woman who is married is treated the best, especially the Black woman who is married with children. She's treated the best. She's given that status. And it's because that's the symbol of the Black family, right? We've seen the Black family being teared down in so many different ways that we want to see a Black family together. Let's talk about Black women who are married and who do have children in interracial marriages. Goodness gracious, the double standard is nuts. You see these Black men with their white wives all the time, and while I don't have a problem with that, let a Black woman do the same damn thing. Child, my thing is, date who you want. Half of y'all, I would not, honestly, because we know the types who be talking about it's snow bunny season. We know the types. These are not men who would be good men to anybody. Half of these men are not men who would be good men to anybody. I would not wish those men on Black women anyway. Let them be somebody else's problem. Now, that's obviously not the case in every situation. Sometimes it's just a decently good guy, decently good girl. They meet, they like each other, and they move forward. He just happens to be Black and she just happens to be whatever race that she is. You know what I'm saying? In those situations, that's fine. But in a lot of the situations where we see a lot of hate being thrown Black women's way, like, it's not enough for that particular Black man to just go and be in his relationship peacefully and quietly. He has to make a fuss about the fact that he's doing this because he hates Black women so much. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like those kinds of men, go ahead. Because I really would not wish you on any Black women. I can see you from a mile away. I can see the way you treat women like an object, a thing, like an accessory to make you look good to your boys. And that's why you're excited about dating another woman of another race, because in your mind, Black women are not going to make you look good. Women who are closer to whiteness would make you look good. And that's why you chase after them specifically. But that in and of itself is proof that you wouldn't treat any woman well, because you see women as an accessory. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the good guys here. If you know that you're a good guy, let it rock. But if you hear what I'm saying and you think you're a good guy and you hear what I'm saying and you feel offended because you do the same thing, you're probably not the best guy. Sorry, but we gotta be honest, right? But those kinds of men, we see it all the time. Look at Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. I don't love Kim Kardashian. I do take issue with a lot of the blackfishing is not necessarily the word I'm looking for, but the ways in which she baited Black women a lot, appropriated our culture a lot, and just tried her best to kind of, I don't know what it was that she was trying to do, but it's just like, it just felt like an intentional thing to upset Black women any opportunity that she got. But notice how she stopped doing that after she got divorced, right? Kylie as well. Ever since she started dating Timothée Chalamet, we haven't seen her do any of those things ever again. It's so funny that now that Kardashian women are starting to date non-Black men, they all of a sudden stop appropriating our culture. Isn't that interesting? Because I haven't seen them do anything to upset Black women ever since they stopped dating Black men. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that crazy? That's another conversation for another day, but that's interesting, don't you think? But anyway, yes, I kind of got off topic. Let me get back to my notes. But yes, marriage is oftentimes a status symbol. And when a Black woman is married, she is elevated and treated much better because she represents the Black family. Because the Black family, in a lot of ways, people feel that it is a Black woman's responsibility to cultivate that and hers alone. So when we see a Black family together, it is treated as her success. She did that. And because of that, we're going to elevate her. Even though in the end of the day, we're really elevating the man more, but internally we feel at the very least that this is successful because of that Black woman. So we're going to treat her better and elevate her amongst the filthy rejectables. That's the filthy rejectables. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm saying that about other non-married women. I am a non-married Black woman, but anyway. Yes, marriage is oftentimes a status symbol. It's very much a Christian value. A lot of Black people, especially in America, grew up in the Christian church. So we value, like, marriage is a Christian value. You know what I'm saying? So that plays a part. It's also a sign of moral goodness. People assume that because you're a wife and because you're a mother and because you're able to present that in this very picturesque way, that you are a good person. We often see and follow Christian figures of authority more easily if they can present themselves in that way. If they can present themselves as a married couple, a family with home values, and they can present their family in the most picturesque way, in the most magazine-y way possible, and never, ever, ever show us what the family truly looks like when the cameras are off and when nobody's watching. So we tend to see marriage as a sign of moral goodness. as a sign that, yes, we should follow this Christian speaker and we should read their books and we should go to all their speaking engagement and we should throw all our money at them because they are a good Christian family, right? And they're able to project that to us in a way that's easy for other Christians to digest. But that's oftentimes what marriage means to the Black community. I want to talk a little bit more about what oftentimes marriage seems to mean to a lot of Black women who want to exist in that paradigm. Because even though I still want and value marriage, I'm not necessarily in any sort of mood to exist and assimilate and to move my body and contort my body and contort my life to live in a world that exists that way. My life is not a game of Monopoly. I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to be a status symbol for anybody. I'm not trying to be a symbol of moral goodness or moral superiority. I'm just trying to be the best person I can reasonably be and live the best life that I reasonably can live. And for the moments that I mess up, I'm just trying to learn so that I can be better the next day. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be me. I'm just trying to be a normal person. I'm not trying to emulate this. And what marriage means to the church, to the Black church, I don't care for any of that. I care for what's happening in the home and in the marriage on a day-to-day level. What's happening between you and me? What's happening between you, me, and our children? It's the day-to-day I care about. I really could care less about what people on the outside think of what's going on. I still care to some degree, but I don't care to make our family a symbol for any fucking thing. I just want our family to be happy here in our home because the world out there sucks. And we have to go out there every day and find a way to live in it. I want us to be able to come home and be safe and be loved and be able to escape from the outside world into loving arms. That's what I want for my marriage. That's what I want for my children. That's what I want for the home that we cultivate together. It's what's happening inside that I value and I care about, not so much as what society sees of this marriage. And to be honest with you, I would prefer for society to see very little of my marriage, honestly. Like, I don't want them to know a damn thing. I don't want them to see much. You know what I'm saying? We have to go outside and live our lives and enjoy lives. But it's just seeing us just living on our day to day. I don't want to post about it. I just want to be out living my life and enjoying my marriage and enjoying my children and enjoying this life that we're cultivating together without necessarily caring so much about what other people think about it, how other people conceptualize it. I value more what's going on in it than how people perceive the situation. You know what I mean? And I don't want to live in a world that devalues women for not being this picturesque model for the Black Christian family. Because honestly, the more people pretend to be that way, I feel like the people who are the best and most able to project that idea are the people living the worst reality on the inside, which is really, really sad. They're just good at pretending. They're good for smiling for the cameras. But those are always the stories that come out. It's just like there was this huge cheating scandal or some crazy thing is going on because they put all their energy that they could have been putting on cultivating something healthy on the inside. They put all that energy towards looking good for other Black people, stunting and for other people. You know what I'm saying? And just like, they're not here. We have to live in this every single day. We have to live in this every single day. We do. So let's get it together. You know what I'm saying? But I want to talk about this idea of the ring being the prize, the engagement ring being the prize, right? So let's talk about Ashley and Tyler from Love is Blind. Context, I didn't watch Love is Blind. I really haven't watched Love is Blind since the very first season. The very first season was so good, and I started watching the second season, and I just knew it wasn't going to be the same after that because I felt like the first season was a genuine attempt at an experiment. Plus, it was just more entertaining. I will never forget when Giannina fell. I'm sorry. I felt so bad laughing, but it was just like, oh my God. That was top tier reality TV. Like I'm never gonna go running in her wedding dress, and then she fell down. It was just like, oh my gosh. I laughed for like 5 minutes straight. I felt so bad because she's suffering, but it's just that. I'm sorry. People falling down is very funny, even though it's not. Even though they're in pain, and I hate that. I'm the type of person that will laugh for like 2 seconds, but still help you up and be like, "Are you okay? Are you good? Do you need anything?" Like, but it's funny when people fall down. I'm sorry. It's funny when I fall down. I fell down the steps the other day. And I was so mad that I fell down the steps, but later on I was telling everyone that I fell down, and it was just the funniest thing, and I was just laughing and cracking jokes because falling down is funny. I don't know what it is about falling down. It's so funny. But anyway, I never watched this season. I haven't really watched Love is Blind since the very first season. What I do is just watch content creators who watch Love is Blind, and I just watched their takedowns and their breakdowns of the situation. And the crazy thing about Ashley and Tyler is that most of what was really going down in their relationship wasn't even really going down in the show. It was going on social media, and that I saw. And if you know, you know. Honestly, I don't even want to necessarily get into it too much. If you are interested and you want context for what it is that I'm talking about and you don't know, look up Ashley and Tyler from Love is Blind. You will find 1,000,001 different breakdowns of what's been going down on social media regarding this couple. Everybody was talking about it. Okay. But I want to talk about the things that are relevant to this particular podcast episode. So I thought to myself, because Ashley is a Black woman, and you could just tell how much Ashley wanted to be a wife. Like, she's like, I am a wife. You know what I mean? You could tell that she grew up in the church a lot more than I did. Lord, you could tell that she just grew up in this very traditional mindset, and she's getting to an age where she can just feel people's eyes on her and everything like that. And she wanted love. She wanted to be married. She wanted to be a wife. And that's why she got on this show that is terrible. I don't know why anyone who genuinely wants love would put themselves through this. Like, this is just horrific. The show is designed to entertain. It's not designed to actually help you find love. If you do, it is an accidental byproduct of the show. It is an accidental byproduct. It is not because any single one of those producers had any good intentions for you. And it's obvious that that's the case with every new season that's coming. It's just getting crazier and crazier. And now it's even getting criminal. Like, it's not okay. But she wanted to be a wife. And I wonder if Ashley got so caught up in the desire to be married that she wanted to go through with this marriage and protect this marriage at all costs. I wonder if it even really had much to do with Tyler. Like, Tyler's a cute kid and whatever, but it just felt like she was so focused on just being married in and of itself. You know, not to say that she would have been fine with marrying anybody, but she kind of was fine with marrying anybody. Like, this is a man you ain't never seen before. You don't know nothing about this fool. You don't know nothing about this fool. And you were okay with getting married after knowing him for just a couple of weeks. And how much could you have possibly known about him before the wedding day? You know what I'm saying? Like, she kind of was okay with just marrying anybody, like any cute looking kid that can talk, and have all that swag and just be very charismatic. Like she was okay with just marrying anyone that can portray himself in that way. But once things went down on social media to show that this guy is not a good guy, it doesn't even seem like he's single, and he has children that he didn't tell you about, and he's acting like those children aren't his. Like, he doesn't have a whole family that he didn't abandon just to be on the show. But she was just sitting there fighting, crashing out on social media, in the comments section, like, those aren't his kids. He don't need them kids. I'm like, girl, do you hear yourself right now? Do you hear yourself? How much of that was because she loved Tyler, and how much of that was because she finally became the wife that she always wanted to be? She finally became the wife that everyone told her she needed to be. She's finally given this status symbol, this exaltation of being a wife, and didn't want that to be taken away. I think more of it had to do with the status symbol, like I mentioned. being a wife, that elusive title to play that role that just kept slipping through her fingers time and time again. And she finally had it in her grasp. And then it combusted in the most public and embarrassing way. But even still, she tried to cling onto it for dear life. But she couldn't, because this man was a mess. And only when it became completely impossible did she let him go. You know what I'm saying? I worry about some of the things that we as women, and especially we as Black women, say when we get married. Like, I'm a wife now. The way we say it with so much gusto sometimes. Like, yes, you are a wife now, and that's lovely, but like, you say that with all this, like, how do I say it? You can tell that it was a goal of theirs. Like, the fact that being a wife was a goal of theirs more so. And that you can tell that there's a little bit more energy and more focus on the role of being a wife than there is on the husband, on the man himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's clear that we oftentimes seeing getting wifed up as some sort of accomplishment, and not doing so by a certain age is some sort of failure on our part, especially if we have children. So we may see it as an achievement and live for the chance to, like, that's what it felt like. It felt like gloating. Like, I'm a wife now. Like, real to finally have the chance to gloat at people who doubted them, who doubted that marriage would ever happen for them, for us. To be like, I proved you wrong. You know what I mean? But we have nothing to prove. And then I get so scared and nervous for us. I really do. Because yes, even still, like, just because you're a wife now doesn't mean you'll be a wife forever. Before, during, and after the marriage, you are still worthy, Black woman. You are still wonderful. You are still beautiful. You are still amazing. So don't attach your worth to this title. You never had to prove that to anybody. Anyone that doubted you was an imbecile. Like, let's be real. They were imbeciles. I say that to others, but I also say it to myself, because there is a part of me that's scared that one day that might be me, because I know what it's like to be told that we're not worth anything. We are not as deserving of marriage as white women or Latinas or Asian women, simply for being born Black and monoracially Black. I know what it's like to be told that. And even not to be told, because no one actually told me to my face these things, but that's what people say on social media. I know what it's like to start asking yourself, is that true? Am I less worthy of this because I was born Black? But I also know what it's like to come out of that and come on the other side of that and be like, no, that is simply not true. I was born worthy of love, worthy of respect, romantic and platonic and familial. Like, I was born worthy of healthy, happy, safe love with many, many people in many different kinds of relationships. I was born worthy of that. No one is going to sit there and successfully convince me that I have something to prove, that that's something I have to prove. No one. You can try. And maybe for a day, I'll start to feel a little bad about the things you might have said, but that's going to go away. The next day, I'm going to know who I am and know what I deserve. And even if, finding and cultivating that romantic love, a lot of that is outside of our hands, but I can start with cultivating my friendships and the community that I want to cultivate, because I know that's what I deserve. I'll draw the lines in the sand for the boundaries that must not be crossed. And if they are, I will leave, because I know what I deserve. I am worthy. I was born worthy, and I will die worthy. There is nothing that can be done. There's nothing I can say, nothing I can do that will all of a sudden make me no longer worthy of respect. Nothing, period. And there's nothing that I would do that would all of a sudden make me unworthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are born worthy, Black woman, and you don't have to prove that. And this ring is not the prize that would make it so that you have successfully proven it. It's just a ring. It has meaning in your specific relationship, but you, the two of you decide what that meaning is. Not the church, not society. You, the two of you, cultivate a relationship between each other so that the ring has meaning. It is not the outside world that give it meaning. It is the two of you together. I say that as I say it to myself, because there's a little fear in the back of my mind that all these things that I've heard growing up, all these things that I saw and heard and experienced are going to influence me to make similar poor decisions. I could see myself being Ashley, and that scares me. So I'm saying this in the hopes that hearing it in my own voice will let it settle into my soul and settle into my bones so that I don't forget it. Because any of us could be Ashley. It's not that hard for us to be influenced to crash out like that. Even though some of the things she said were just not okay, and she should apologize for them. But we were raised just like Ashley was. You know what I'm saying? And that frightens me. That scares me. I worry that some of us might be pursuing marriage with a level of aggression that's not serving us because we feel responsible for proving people wrong, because we feel responsible for proving that we are desirable, because we feel responsible for proving that we are just as deserving as white women, that we are just as deserving as Latinas, that we are just as deserving as Asian women, that we are just as deserving as any other woman out there of the title. So much so that are we even asking ourselves if we want the damn thing in the first place? Like why we want the thing? Is it really going to serve us? We want to prove that we are just as beautiful, just as feminine, that we can cook and clean and fuck just as much as anybody else, that we can make you look good and make your life easier, that we could be soft, that we could be submissive, that we are deserving just as any other woman that is put on a pedestal, that we deserve to be on a pedestal too. I worry that we're not asking ourselves enough questions about what that role will truly mean for us and our future, for our well-being. What kind of marriage is actually worth us participating in? Because not every marriage is worth it. Not every marriage is worth the ring and the status symbol that the Black community would attach to us. And they would rip it away within seconds. They would. The second that you can't hide how bad your marriage is on the inside, that title, that exaltation, that kindness, that respect, it is ripped away. Sometimes the Black church is a fickle ass place. They'll love you one second and hate you the next. We can't just do it for other people. We have to think for ourselves. What kind of marriage is worth it for us to participate in? Now, if you are a Black woman and you just can't relate to anything that I'm saying right now, you're just like, I'm a Black woman and life has always been perfect for me. I have always been loved. I have always had good relationships. Men always wanted me. I'm married and I'm living this happy-go-lucky life. I can't relate to any of the things that you're saying. Get up on out of here. Respectfully, get up on out of here with that. And on the way out, I just want to remind you to be humble. Okay, because that little attitude, because I've seen it. I've seen some Black women have that attitude, this little attitude that you got, that you up in the clouds. I don't know what you're talking about. I have always been loved. I have always been desired. You don't know how quick people will take that shit away, how quick they will snatch it away the second that you don't look so perfect, the second that your hair is not perfectly in place, every strand, every curl, the second that it's not behind a wig. You don't know how quickly that, if anything, that little husband of yours or that man you got, the second he does something remotely stupid, they will snatch it away so quick, because everything that man does is now a reflection of you. So if he does something stupid, the people will look at you and be like, what the hell's going on with you, girl? What are you doing? Get him all the way together. You don't know how quick and fickle people are. So this little pedestal that you're sitting on, that you're like, oh, I just can't relate. You can have empathy. You can have empathy. You can have empathy for your fellow sisters. And if you're completely like just not capable of doing that, you can go. You can go. But the second that tower comes crashing down and you come crawling back to all the Black women that you turn your nose at that, I'm sure that we will show you that love and that kindness that you, and that empathy that you deeply need in that moment. But we're going to remind you of how much of a bitch you were to us, okay? We're going to remind you of the way you were haughty. And, ooh, that reminded me of that girl. I don't know. I mentioned her in another podcast episode. I don't know when or where or what. Isis, the new trophy wife, she had that attitude. Like, I am such a beautiful, like, amazing wife, and I am the trophy wife. I get to just sit around and play all day, and I'm a pampered princess, and I'm going to teach you to be just like me. First step, get rid of all your clothing and buy all the clothes I buy.
Next step, shave off all of your arm hair. If you have arm hair, it's minus 20 points. I am so much better than you. And I'm going to teach you how to be like me because you should want to be like me. And you should want to have a husband just like my husband. Her husband is a whole ass predator. And her life came crumbling down into shambles. I feel bad for her. I feel bad for her children. But are you ever going to take a minute to acknowledge how much of a bitch you were to women? Like, I wouldn't wish what happened to you on anybody. I wouldn't wish what happened to your children on anybody. But are you going to take a minute to apologize for being a bitch to women, putting yourself up on this pedestal like you're so much better than everybody else? Because we deserve an apology. I say we as if I was following you. I wasn't following that girl. It's your followers, your subscribers. They deserve an apology for being a bitch. You were being condescending. You were being an ass because you thought you had your head up in the clouds thinking, oh, I'm so perfect. I'm so desirable. I'm a feminine woman. And I'm going to teach you to be just like me. That's not a good headspace to be in. That's a dangerous headspace to be in. So any woman that's hearing this and is just like, I can't be bothered. That's not me, not my problem. On the way out, I would just like to remind you to be humble because it takes nothing but one bad day. Real talk, it takes nothing but one bad day for all of that to come crashing down on you. And if and when that does happen, you want us women to remember you for your kindness, for your empathy, so that we can extend that same empathy to you with ease. Okay? But goodbye, take care, leave. Exit stage left. Let's get back to the conversation. All right. Again, I wanted to talk about the fact that I kind of worry for myself because I know that I'm not necessarily actively doing anything about dating because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm so lazy. I'm way too lazy. But I recognize that mindset is dangerous. Is seeing marriage as a prize, seeing the ring as a prize is dangerous. And I know that there are deep parts of me that are unhealed from the hate that Black women receive on a regular basis. Part of me is scared that would impact my judgment and compel me to pursue something that's not in my own best interest, simply to prove that I could. You know what I mean? That's the gag, right? To do all these things specifically to get married just to prove to the world that I could get married. I never had to prove that to anybody. Anybody can get married. It's not hard. But I wanted to prove that I deserve to. But I don't want to get caught up in proving that I deserve something that I didn't take the time to weigh whether or not I even want in the first place, whether or not it's actually good for me. I don't want to get so caught up in that. If you resonate with any of the things that I mentioned here today, if this is you, if this is how you're feeling, if you're feeling unworthy of marriage because of the way society treated you, especially if you're a Black woman, if you feel unworthy of love because of what society told you, if you ever had those feelings, if you know that they're not true now, but you don't necessarily feel it in your heart as confidently as much as you know it in your head, I want you to know that I know what that's like. I know what it's like to feel that way. I know what it's like to still struggle with some of those feelings to this day, even though they don't really take up as much space in my everyday mind. There's still little whispers of it in the back of my head because they were there. Someone told me those things. I was taught these things. I want to take some pressure off of you right now. For one, these feelings, these struggles, if you feel any shame attached to those feelings, let them go. You have nothing to be ashamed of. The thing about being a Black woman is the world will constantly tell you have 1,000,001 things to be ashamed of. You don't have to be ashamed of anything. You don't. You don't, okay? You were born worthy. You were born worthy, and you will die worthy. Period. Full stop. It's not easy to teach yourself that when you don't truly believe it in your heart of hearts, but that's a whole journey. You got all the time in the world to learn how to do that process. You don't need to feel ashamed that that's just not where you currently are today. You have the rest of your life to learn and to grow and to cultivate that self-worth. So you can just take a breath and feel fine with where you currently are right now because you're okay. We're okay. And we're going to be okay. I see you, I hear you, I feel you, and I've got your back. Black woman, I want you to remember that the question is not whether or not you are worthy of marriage. The real question is whether this institution is even worthy of you in the first place. Because you are wonderful, because you are beautiful, because you are worthy, because you are amazing, because amazing things happen when Black women dream
Amazing things happen when Black women take action. We have created something out of nothing time and time again. We have innovated. We have raised our children up. We have set trends that take off globally. Is this institution truly worthy of you? Because remember why this institution was established in the first place. At least the way white supremacists and the patriarchy took it from God and morphed it into something that was established to keep women in bondage in the first place. There are women who are married right now, and it is just another form of slavery for them. Working like a dog, getting beaten. No woman deserves that. Nobody deserves that. If we participate in this institution, it must be on our terms. It must meet our needs. It must satisfy our desires, at least most of them. We have to redefine our relationship with this institution in a way that works for us, in a way that's for our good, and that starts internally. I want to start doing some of that work to redefine these things for myself now, and I would love to invite you to do the same if you can. So the role of the wife. The role that Christianity, the patriarchy, and white supremacists taught me that the role of the wife is the role of the slave. The role of the wife is the chef, is the maid, it's the therapist, it's the prostitute, all in one. And I forgot another one, it's the babysitter too. So you play the role of the chef, the cook, the maid, the prostitute, and the babysitter all in one, and you do it all for free. That is what Christianity, the patriarchy, and white supremacists taught me, that the role of the wife is the role of the slave. What does the role of the wife mean for me? What is the role that I want to play? For me, what I'm redefining that role to be is the role of the wife is the role of the friend. I want to be a friend to my husband. I want my husband to be a friend to me. I want us to go through life together. I'm not the maid. I'm not the chef. I'm not the prostitute. I don't live to serve you. We live our lives choosing to do so together because the both of us have something beautiful and wonderful to share with each other. We recognize that alone we are both wonderful. Alone we are both beautiful. Alone we are both worthy. Alone we are both incredible. But together we are amazing. We are incredible. We are 10 times more powerful and brilliant. We recognize that alone we can stand up and stand tall in who we are. But when we stand together, we stand stronger. The role of the wife, for me, is the role of the partner, the role of the teammate, the role of the friend. And we walk this life together because we know that we're stronger together and that life is better, is happier, and it's more peaceful for the both of us because of the role we play in our own lives together, because we're in it together. That's the role I want to play. The role of the husband, the role that Christianity and the patriarchy and the white supremacy has taught me is that the role of the husband to provide and to protect, to be the head of the household, which means to be the head of me, to be in charge of all of our decisions, including the decisions that impact my own life. But also, when things go wrong, to carry that burden alone without sharing it with me, without sharing it with anybody. In fact, when things go wrong, to take it out on me. That's the role that I was taught by these systems of oppression. That is the role that a husband ought to play. Because I am in charge, I do things my way or the highway, and you have no choice but to just stick with it. Because I take care of you, because I pay for you to live. Some husbands even take it as far as to be that I protect you from the dangers out there, so you have to put up for the dangers in here. You have to put up with me putting my hands on you. And that's not it. That's the role that these systems of oppression have taught me. But what is the role that I need my husband to play? Again, the role of the husband should be the role of the friend, my teammate, my confidant, my partner. I ain't even gonna hold you. I like to be taken care of a little bit here and there, but what I need you is to be a safe space for me to land. I don't need you to solve all my problems for me. I just need you to hold me and let me know that you won't let me go. That I am safe here, that this is a safe space to cry, also a safe space to problem solve. whatever you need. My arms are a safe space for you to do whatever it is that you need to do. Simple as that. The role of the husband should be the role of the friend. We're walking this life together. Yeah. Pay for dinner from time to time. Plan dates. I would love to plan dates for you too. Like, we can do that for each other. And yes, do the gentlemanly things, make sure I get home safe at night. Make sure our home is safe at night. Secure it. Take out the trash. Do these dumb little things, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, it's not a big deal. Do them. I'll take care of some of the traditionally feminine things here as well, because I am a woman and I like feeling like a woman. So sometimes I'll do some more traditionally feminine things around the home and give you the space to do some of the traditionally masculine things around the home. But most of the time we do things together and we recognize that things are better when we do them together. They're not as difficult, that they're easier. The role of the co-parent. Let's talk about that. Because we talk about co-parenting only in the context of people not being together anymore. So after you've broken up, after you've divorced, now we're co-parenting. We should be co-parenting the whole time. As long as this child is alive, we should be working together. There are so many married single mothers. And what I mean by that is that these women are married to men that do nothing for their kids. Married to men that do nothing. She has to do all the work. We should be tackling this together from the start. We should both be parents. We should both be mentors to our children. It's not fair for one person to do all the work and the other person to just play with the kids from time to time when he's not busy or watching football on the TV. No, we both do this together. We talk this out. We support each other. Because being a parent is hard. I could see that it's hard. And I ain't even a parent yet, child. Man, it's hard. Sometimes you just need also to confide in somebody about how parenting is difficult. We should be that for each other. We should be that for each other. And so what does marriage truly mean for Black women? We know what society tells us marriage ought to mean for Black women, but what it truly means is whatever we want. And I want us to start taking that power and recognizing that power. This should be whatever I want. And if it's not, it needs to go. And that's not to say that our marriage should be a happy Disney princess movie all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be conflict. But how do we want to deal with our conflicts? In peace, right? So let's set the tone for that. It should be a happy, safe space for us to live in. The marriage should be a happy, healthy, safe space for us to live in, because that is what we deserve. I'm so sick of people letting us feel like that's not what we deserve. If it is to exist, it should be a safe space for us to live and grow in, and for us to raise our kids in. That's what our kids deserve. Anyway, I think that is where I will wrap up today's podcast. I have been talking for a while. Good God. That was healing for me. This is a podcast episode I want to actually go back and listen to once a year. Because I need to stay the course. I need to know what the hell I'm doing. When I'm out here dating, I can't be forgetting what I said. I can't be forgetting what this should be for me. Now, just to be clear, I know I said a lot of things about the church, Christianity. I just want y'all to know how much I love God and how much I love Jesus. I don't always love the church. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I don't. But I'm always going to love God. I'm always going to love Jesus. And I'm not here shaming anybody for their faith. But can we just be honest? The church is not always the healthiest place for us. Sometimes it's just a toxic space. I feel like it's not going to get better unless we're honest about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's not me shaming your religion, shaming your spirituality. I got the same spiritual. I love God and I love me some Jesus. I do. But we have to have these conversations. We have to focus on what serves us well. You know what I mean? And healing any trauma attached to the church, attached to the expectations that our community has placed upon our shoulders. And the first step is being honest about it and recognizing that we can change course whenever we want. So I hope that this was healing for someone to hear. I hope someone appreciates this. I hope that it means something to you guys because it truly meant so much to me. And I don't want to forget the things that I said today. One, because it could literally be the difference between life and death. Like, could save a lot of us from situations that are unsafe for us. We have to remember that this institution, we have to assess whether or not it's truly worthy of us. Doesn't matter what people think about whether or not we're worthy of it. Is it worthy of us? Because we were born worthy. We were born worthy. And we have to remember that. So that's all for now. Until next time, everybody. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.